Hello, everyone. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you're joining us from today. My name is Gloria Castillo, and I'm the Alliances Manager at Docebo. Welcome to today's webinar, presented in partnership with TicTac Interactive, Docebo's partner in the Nordics region, where we will explore how you can formalize your corporate training with the right technology. A few housekeeping items before we get started. This webinar will be recorded and all attendees will receive a link to it after the webinar so you can watch it at your leisure. If you have any questions during the webinar, please type them into the Q&A section. We will try our best to answer all of your questions during the webinar. But if we're unable to get to it, do not worry. We will be following up with you after the webinar. In today's agenda, we have the evolving role of the LMS in high-growth organizations, the journey from using digital tools to formalized training. We'll take a look at the future strategy of formalized training. We'll take a look at a case study of a client of Docebo and TicTac Interactive. And of course, we'll get to our Q&A section. Our presenters today, from Docebo, we have Ed Flower, our UK sales team lead. And from our TicTac Interactive team, we have Benjamin Rosen, partner and sales director, and Richard Silvercroon, LMS expert. So without further ado, please let me introduce you and welcome Ed Flower.
That's great. Thank you, Gloria. Hi, everyone. Great to be running you through the first part of this presentation and webinar today. So we're just going to start with a quote here from Steve Goldberg from Ventana Research. So the quote says, "The LMS must help transmit the high growth mindset across the organization." So this is a mindset that embraces rapid learning and helping an organization move towards a higher risk, rapid reward behavior requires more than just a traditional learning experience. It requires an LMS reinforced mindset and culture shifts. So if we just break down what this is saying here, essentially rapidly growing organizations need LMSs in this day and age that can, number one, support, and number two, can facilitate growth. And traditionally, an LMS has been seen as very much a tool for compliance and potentially driving operational goals. But now what we're seeing is that organizations that are dealing with rapid changes, and that's more present now than ever with what's going on. These organizations are shifting perspective, and they're now seeing an LMS as playing more of a strategic role to achieve business outcomes. So it's really this move from a focus of compliance to actually how do we achieve business outcomes using an LMS. So if we just look at an example, a modern LMS has to enable rapid or can enable rapid growth by streamlining onboarding. So if we look at high growth companies, they've got to go further than just the traditional onboarding approach, which used to be obviously in the classroom a lot. And now actually we've got to use technology and an LMS to immerse employees in the organization culture, in the mission, and the work that needs to happen to achieve these business goals. So ultimately, you need these high growth organizations are using an LMS by making onboarding high quality and immersive. So on this next slide here, we're now looking at, so after onboarding, high growth organizations must be able to rely on the LMS to reinforce employee behaviors that are in line with this growth mindset that Steve was talking about. And there's really two ways that an LMS can enable this. So number one is the social learning capabilities. And number two is by focusing and making readily available the formal learning content to reinforce culture as and when the learner needs to consume it. So at this point, I'm going to hand over to my colleagues, Ben and Richard from TicTac, and they can run you through how we've been working with a specific organization.
Great, thank you, Ed and Gloria. This is Benjamin speaking from the TicTac office in Stockholm, and we are very happy to join this webinar today together with Docebo. So we're going to start talking about the one thing that everyone is talking about, but not talking about it too much today. But this year has been challenging on many levels. All of our customers and the market had to restructure the operations and also redo how we're working with everything from trainings to meetings and the whole strategy. So where we think where we're standing now is to create a long-term focus and change how we've been working with the whole workflow in the companies. And that takes us to remote learning. We have never seen a pandemic in the digital age before. This, of course, has a major impact on EdTech. Distance learning is not only a good idea, as it's been before, it is now necessary to run your business. Corona forces us to look at new solutions. Those who have stubbornly stuck to the classroom model are now starting to use digital learning on a broad front. It is not possible to stay, and this will have lasting consequences. We at TicTac, who are in the EdTech industry ourselves, must also step up and have smarter meetings and work remotely during this year. We have a lot of tools, digital tools before, as a complement of how we are used to work. We have Slack, Trello, Teams, Zoom as we use today, and I'm sure that a lot of you guys have the same tools. But there is one problem, as we can see. We have started to use a lot of different channels in all organizations to meet the urgent need. But it's time to create a long-lasting and formalized strategy for how we're going to work. No one wants to have physical meetings and trainings in a Zoom meeting. So what I mean is, my point is that we can't just move our physical working life to the fastest, most cost-efficient channel. We need to create a long-lasting and sustainable way of creating a digital work life, and where training is a huge part of it. It is important to understand how much difference this can have. When everyone can have meetings with everyone, create things in virtual teams, well, then you can work outside the traditional boundaries. This spring has made everyone aware of our vulnerability, our responsibility, and that we are in the same boat. At the same time, there are positive effects of reduced travel, to mention one of them. Sustainability is becoming an increasingly important concept, and we will see a plethora of educations about it in the near future. But what is interesting is that instead of silo thinking, we believe that EdTech will connect people and organizations. Instead of donating money to charity, for example, think about how your organization can contribute knowledge, influence, and context instead. EdTech can and will be used to bridge gaps and enable more and more people to receive education. Companies see that they can take greater social responsibility than just by donating money. It is no longer just changing the way we think, but spreading it to others and sharing what we can. So our take on the future from here. We believe that the main purpose and goal today is rather to create a user-centered platform and center for learning experiences. So the other way around from the traditional push strategy, we believe that today is about me as an employee, me as a partner, student, or me as a human. How can I learn according to my needs and my daily life and my workflow? And this, of course, creates other demands on the technology that we are using than the ones we had before. We have a lot of different technologies that helping the me strategy. We have AI to create individual learning. We have all the learning analytics. We have different tools, as this one is just one example of something that's been very heavy and hardworking before to create an e-learning, for example. Today there are tools that can just read your script and your presentation, and it will be creating a e-learning that you can upload in the platform that in our opinion are in high quality. So the presentation and the people that used to be in the office presenting something to learn others can now be made in just a couple of hours and distributed digital instead. And I can learn when it suits me to learn. So this is just one example of that. Another example is that more and more people look outside the box and starting to educate holistically, developing the whole person instead of their main skill, not just courses on your course. Tomorrow, employers will train not only passive learners, but self-employed leaders. So we definitely see how a huge work-life coaching, creativity, time management, communication, problem solving, change management would be a huge part of what we are learning the trainers of tomorrow instead of the actual skill. Another huge trend that we think should be a part of your learning strategy is that more companies are starting to look outside the box when it comes to their employees. From seeing employees as checkboxes on a piece of paper, you start thinking outside the box. What if, instead of firing and recruiting, you could retrain your existing employees to new positions? This must be a choice that both employee and employer make together. In a previous economy where retraining resources were expensive, difficult, and now today with the right tools, it's possible, and then you retain a very valuable knowledge within the organization. And not just within the company, the whole society needs to adapt the reskilling concept to survive in this new age. We believe that interactive videos is another powerful way of distributing knowledge to the learner. Examples of that, and also in terms of the me in my individual learning, is that, for example, you can take the data from the learning platform and create tailor-made videos. So instead of just sharing a knowledge, it could be, hi Benjamin, this is what you're going to learn today. And it would be tailor-made for me as an individual and much more relevant. And we think relevance is something that we need to keep in mind when creating content in the near future. It could also be simple features such as download material directly from a video instead of finding it somewhere else in a platform. It should be easy to learn. So with that said, we believe in learning in the flow of work. What many trend scouts believe the next step is the learning take places in the flow of work. That means while working and without it interfering. Why? Because the biggest problem is still lack of time. Flow learning is based on the fact that education still lives in a system that can keep track of structures, but it can be served not only to the same day as it is to be used, but directly in the digital platform where we work. Whether it's Outlook, Teams, Slack, Trello, Zoom, or similar, and with AR in the horizon, learning can also emerge in a physical environment. This is based on 20 years of infrastructure that we have built up in e-learning, micro-learning, integration with other systems, focus on video, social learning, on-demand learning, single sign-on. All this has made digital learning less and less disruptive in everyday life. Soon it will be a part of our everyday life. This also means that education must also become part of the strategy for work in general. when we create processes for work, we also create processes for education. Since education should be in the flow, do not block the flow. This means greater responsibility for everyone who works with education. And that's what I have to say about our thoughts in creating a more sustainable and formalized strategy in how we're learning and making a part of the everyday work life. So now I will let my colleague Richard present a showcase.
Thank you, Benjamin. I will take over this screen. So if you, Benjamin, if you stop sharing there, I will start sharing. Excellent, thank you. So my name is Richard, and I work as a product specialist at TicTac Interactive, and also as a delivery lead, making sure all our deliveries and implementation go according to plan. And I'm here to talk to you today about a case study that we to present a case study together with the city of Helsingborg. So just a bit about the city of Helsingborg. It's a city in the south of Sweden, and they have an agenda to be one of the foremost IT counties or municipalities in Sweden, and have a major investment in digital education and training for their co-workers and employees. So, and it's quite a number of employees, approximately 12,000. I think it's 11,700 to be exact. So they needed some kind of platform to really get ahead of what is possible today, and how will we train and educate our co-workers in tomorrow. So very future-proof digital platform for that, and also with a focus for lifelong learning. So not just what kind of tasks and skills do you need for your work today, but also what you need, what you want to do tomorrow, and further down the line in your career. So something that would suit them, and for an extensive tender, they settled for Docebo, which I will also show you. So just a bit about the choice and their agenda, the city of Helsingborg's agenda. They have something called Vision 2035, and this is a future strategy vision. So the goal of this learning platform is to increase the opportunities for competence development for all employees, for moving parts from traditional classroom to e-learning, and more videos, more webinars, and everything in between. So the ambition is to increase accessibility, and meet new talents, and to attract talents that might not be available otherwise, and to be a very attractive employer. So the investment is part of the strategy 2013, which means that Helsingborg in 2035 will be a creative, pulsating, common, global, and balancing city for people and companies as well. So these are the key words. And as you can see here in the slide, just the focus on both employees and also leadership. So a lot of things goes into, I create value and I want to succeed and I collaborate. So this sharing of knowledge and competence, so that focus on just bringing the level of competence up a notch. Instead of just everyone knowing their piece, it's about sharing and about encouraging others to be better, and to do more, and to know more. Yes. So I'm just wanted to show you the platform itself. So I'm going to switch over to the platform here. Just taking the opportunity to show what's been done in that, and just a hands-on vision. So it's City of Helsingborg, as I mentioned, is in Sweden, so a lot of the platform is in Swedish. I've switched over the platform language to English, but mainly things will be in Swedish, but I will try to explain. So I'm just going to log in here. And what we see is the starting page. So it says, welcome to HBA Learn. So HBA is just a short form for Helsingborg, and Learns is just what they, this will be the name for the platform they wanted to, a dedicated name. So it will be remembered as a place for learning. And subtitles is then, what do you want to learn today? Which really encaptures that ambition that learning is something that most people would like to do on an almost daily basis, and not just strict for compliance, and instead of something that is fun and inspiring. So what we can see here is my my courses and learning plans. So it's just that widget displays. So they wanted that to be very visible. So a welcoming message and very clear colors. That also, I think the choice of purple here is great, because it becomes a bit more playful. So what we have is just my courses here, and then what they have, since the City of Helsingborg consists of several departments. So what we have here is our user that sees the department for health and social care. So if we click this, we will see the course catalog for that department. So I'm just going to go ahead and click that. So what we see here is then the course catalog for health and department. So we see a number of courses, so not fully, and there is an ambition to be a lot of courses here. So these are the freely open to enroll into, and they can be used for anyone who's part of this department to enroll into. And so it's everything, basic course about working as a nurse, and obviously there will be something about practical things. So how it is to, how you fill out forms in a certain environment, and things like that. So we just go back to the starting page. We can also then see a different image here, and that takes us to the courses that are citywide. So it's divided in departments and citywide courses. What we can see here is different courses. So it's everything from how you create a safe password for your different accounts, and to a legal basic course, to how you take part in tenders, and how you if you're asked to, and child convention as law. There's a course here about, and how we can support parents for children in our schools. So lots of different courses that are freely available to everyone employed in the city. So if you just want to learn something about a department that might not be very close to yours, it can be placed on the citywide course catalog, and then everyone can take part of it. And this will also then extend to Docebo channels further down the line. So City of Helsingborg started off with traditional courses, then moving on to channels further down the line after go live. So it will then, if I go into, this user has access to a lot of different starting pages. So if I go into a different departments, so this is the school and daycare department. So as you can see, it's a different image, and there will be then different courses in there. So this is how they try to promote just very straightforward starting page, and with colors, and the notifications also reflect that. Just try to encourage their users to freely enroll into a number of courses in areas that they might not normally take part in, and acquire knowledge that they might not come across in other cases. So that's my little tour about this customer. Obviously, they have the all the regular ones in menu choices here. So my activities, my calendar, my checklists. So I'm sure you've seen Docebo in actions, but if there's anything you wonder about specifically, then just reach out, and we can give you a bit more in-depth demo. I'm just going to switch over to next slide here, and let Benjamin speak to this one.
Thank you, Richard. So we just want to round up and introduce you very short to TicTac and our relationship to Docebo. So we are a partner and reseller of Docebo in the Nordics, and we are one of the leading edtech supplier. We have over 300 clients that we're working on a regular basis, helping both with platforms, content, and strategy. And our clients have over 1 million users each year using the platforms. So we're a full service agency providing both content and platform. And our goal is to have well-designed knowledge solutions with a focus on the individual and the learning goal in everything we do. Thank you.
All right, so I'll stop sharing here and head over to Gloria.
That's great. Thanks, thanks Ben. Thanks Richard. Yeah, super interesting to see the platform live in action. That's great. Thank you for sharing that. So, just as a quick overview of who Docebo is for anyone that doesn't know that's on the call. So Docebo, we're established in 2005. Our mission is to redefine how customers and companies learn by applying new technology to the traditional LMS market. And as a platform, we provide an easy-to-use platform, highly configurable at affordable costs. So what we've got on screen here is the 70-20-10 model of learning, which is what we really believe in as a platform, and what we've looked at and discussed today, as you've seen, is very much the onboarding, the formal learning piece that Docebo does very well, and almost the next step in that journey is then the social learning. So when we think about Steve's quote earlier about how do we implement an LMS which is going to be aligned to strategic goals and outcomes, really you can do that through this social learning here. So on the next slide, we'll see how on the left-hand side here is very much the formal-led approach to learning, which we've looked at today. So it's that top-down approach of giving courses to users, and users can engage with those courses. And on the right hand side, as I said, is almost that next step of social and informal learning. So it's still top down, so there's still formal content, formal courses that the user can enroll onto. But also, if we look at the left hand side there, the user can engage with an expert in the platform, and then on the right hand side we can see the user can also ask questions and get answers. So it becomes this wider ecosystem. And then the challenge in modern day learning platforms is the amount of content. So as a user, how do you know where to start? Well, that's where the AI then comes into play, and it can help to recommend and curate content for you. So this is really the full learning journey that we've looked at today. And on this, the final slide, we'll see just a quick breakdown of the different use cases that Docebo can be used for. So not only is it the internal use cases, especially like we've looked at today, so employee onboarding on the top right hand there, but also sales enablement, employee development, and compliance training. But also, as you can see at the top left, customer training and partner training is a huge part of how Docebo can be used and is being leveraged by some of the top companies and fastest growing companies. So yeah, that pretty much brings to an end the presentation from Docebo and TicTac. So I'm going to pass back over to Gloria now, who I think will open for a Q&A session.
Thank you so much, Ed, and thank you so much to Ben and Richard also for that great presentation about really what the future of learning it's going to bring us. So we're just going to go ahead and ask a few questions that we have from the audience today, and please just go ahead and let us know your thoughts on this. Pretty much, we're seeing here a question that asks, what are some of the benefits? So since we've had COVID and everybody has to start working remotely, and some companies have used tools like Zoom or GoToWebinar to carry out some training, what are some of the benefits of not using those tools but using an LMS instead?
So Benjamin here. I would definitely say that it's definitely, you can have benefits of both using those tools combined with an LMS. I would say is the most beneficial way of working, since, as I said, like we have our physical behaviors, having trainings and meetings, and I think that we just need to cope that it's a different behavior online, and how we're using and how we want to learn different things. So I would say, like, one really important thing having it in an LMS is to get it more formal, and you have the same knowledge every time in a package that someone is learning, instead of having a trainer standing on the Zoom meeting every time, repeating himself. He might not say the same thing, and they will get a different experience from the learning. So I would say that the blended learning concept is the most beneficial, and blended in terms of mixing Zoom and e-learning, for example.
Yeah, I agree with Benjamin here. I think what an LMS or an LXP can offer is also the full learning experience. So you get a bit more exclusive. It's just this, instead of just separate Zoom meetings, you get a full user experience, a user interface that can combine lots of different types of learning.
Yeah, it's Ed here from Docebo, and just to finally add to that, I completely agree with both what Ben and Richard have said there, and ultimately other solutions like Zoom, an LMS isn't there to replace other software. It's there to work alongside the other software, and almost, as Richard was saying, create that ecosystem of learning. So really, to answer the questions of what is the benefit of an LMS over those other software, well, it really depends on what your specific strategic goals are. Because if your goals are to onboard people quickly and let them onboard at their own pace, then really an LMS is naturally going to be a better fit than trying to schedule Zoom sessions. But Zoom sessions could be part of what is that overall solution. So it really does depend on what your aims are.
Thank you so much, guys, for those great answers. We have another question here, saying that we took a look at the learning management system, but there was also a mention of social learning. And, seeing that a lot of more people are going to be working remotely after, the pandemic that we're still going through, what are some of the benefits of social learning and how can it be monitored so it doesn't get out of hand?
Yeah, good question. So Ed here from Docebo. Okay, so what are some of the benefits of social learning? So if we just take a step back and first of all, if we just recap the social learning principles of 70, 20, 10. So 10% of what we learn is very much formal led. 20% is through sitting down with people and going through training with a manager, for instance. And 70% is us actually doing it on the job. So really, if you're investing in a platform that is there to cover your formal training, really you're investing all of your money potentially in solving 10% of the problem. So really the benefits of social learning is capturing the other 90% of learning that happens throughout the organization. Now we are seeing this, we've almost seen a lot of companies speed up in terms of their learning strategy, especially with COVID right now. So where companies had this on their roadmap for the next year, 2 years, 3 years, suddenly it's been sped up a lot. To answer the question of how do you monitor this, well, that really, to look at Docebo specifically, there's a lot of functionality and features in there that will help you to monitor, which will help you to enable who can share what. So there's a lot of small features that will help you do that. But really the bigger question is your organization ready for social learning? And if not, what are the steps you need to take to get there? And that's where the likes of Docebo and TicTac can help you implement that sort of social learning culture within your organization.
Great. We have a very interesting question here. Pretty much, we're talking about moving from other platforms that are not a learning management system to a learning management system to formalize training. The question is, does it matter what type of learning content an organization has before they implement a learning management system? For example, if they've been using something that it's just a PDF or a Word document, a video, etc. Doesn't matter, can it be used? And pretty much just a different types of content that can be added to an LMS.
I can answer that. So I would actually say it's a benefit if there's a variety of learning content. It creates a more dynamic learning experience for the user of a platform and a coworker.
Okay. And just to clarify, different kinds of or different types of formats of content can be used in the platform.
Yeah. So everything from PDFs to PowerPoints to SCORM to XAPI to create your own HTML pages, videos, but also you can draw from external content into the platform to a certain degree as well. So it does create that ecosystem for learning using just a wide variety of training material or content.
Thank you, Richard. We have another question here, and I would like to see if we can, if you can all give your input to this question. You mentioned getting employees to dedicate time to learning is a #1 challenge. Is there a specific course of action that you would recommend to create a pull traction as opposed to pushing that employee to take the courses? What are your recommendations on this?
Yeah, that's a really good question there. So if I just give you a quick overview of an example engagement strategy here. So to your point there, really, if you look at an organization and you split it into 3, so maybe I'll just use these percentages as an example, but the bottom 20% of your organization, as you say, you need to push into the platform. And then we look at the top 20%, and really these are your most valuable players. They're the ones that you want to enable and give them subject matter expert rights. And these are those, you really want to retain these. So what about that middle 60%, which I think is who we're focusing on here? So how do you pull them into the platform? Well, #1, it's about having that good UI. And that good UX. So what we've seen today from Richard and Ben on the Helsingborg platform, you can see it's very modern, it's clean, it's fresh, it's easy to use, and it's personalized for that individual person. So that's the key thing. Secondly, you can do things like use gamification, so rewarding people for certain types of behavior in the platform. And then thirdly, it is that social learning piece. So there is a clear correlation with all of the customers we work with of those that are using social learning as being able to pull them into the platform. And what we've seen is from organizations that leverage social learning, there is generally a higher percentage satisfaction in the content that is being consumed. So it's almost moving away from the idea that an LMS is there to serve a compliance-based requirement to actually an LMS is there similar to your CRM or any other software that you have to log into every morning because it's got so much value in there. So really, those are all the things that you do to pull a user into the platform.
It's a great.
Ben, is this something that you want to share?
No, I just wanted to add, as we talked about earlier before, I think I would totally agree. And I think also in terms of relevance for you at your work, I think if you create content that's really relevant for you, I think that will also make the employees enter the learning platform. So instead of just having, like we have companies that compliance courses, and they might be boring in many senses, but how can you create compliance courses that it's engaging and that you actually feel it's really important for you to enter them. So I also think the quality of the content is really important and the relevance for the end user.
Thank you. Perfect. So I think we are running out of time. And this is all the time that we have for today, but I really, really want to thank our presenters, Ed, Ben, Richard, for a great presentation, and also to our audience for engaging with us and asking such great questions. So look out for an email from us with the recording of this webinar so you can listen to it again or share with your coworkers or other people in your organization. And if you have a question about the content that we presented today, don't forget, you can reach out to TicTac Interactive, and you can also reach out to Docebo, and we can definitely walk you through more of the information that you're interested in learning about. So that is it for today. Thank you so much again. Everyone have a wonderful, lovely day, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone.